Hey guys, so quick question, when is Mortal Kombat 3 coming out? Because I just saw Mortal Kombat 2 and it was so fucking good. The fight choreography, the visuals, the iconic line, "Get over here." Holy shit, the whole thing was just amazing. But I'm here to talk about a different movie, and that movie is the disturbing Megan is Missing. Now, Megan is Missing is classified as a horror movie, although, listen, the movie is about a pedophile who kidnaps teenage girls. That's a horror for me. Horror is something that involves something deeply demonic, like vampires or witches or actual demons. Something that absolutely can and has happened in real life is not horror. That's just another movie. Now, I would like to clarify, this is a tactic that a lot of horror company movies use, is they will lie to you and tell you that their movies are based on true events, when in fact they were not. And they do this to, number one, to scare the audience even more, but number two, to sell their work more. Megan is Missing, in the very beginning of the film, they tell you it's based on true events. It is not. I've researched this heavily. Megan is Missing is an entirely, while it did take inspiration from real life pedophile and child abduction cases, the movie itself is 100% fictional. And that whole thing of, oh, well, we loosely based it on real life events, so therefore it's based on true events. Yeah, what kind of art form is it based on reality? Everything is based on reality to a degree. So by that definition, everything is based on true events. The Fast and the Furious, the fucking Odyssey, although that might be untrue events, I'm not sure. But basically every movie that's ever been made ever should be, we should automatically say that it's based on true events, because that's essentially the stupid asinine logic they're using here. Weapons also did this. They said that it was based on true events. It 100% was not. They lied. The only movie that seems to be truthful about their movies actually being based off of true events is the Conjuring movie series. But everyone else who says, oh yeah, this is based on true events, they're fucking lying. They are liars. Okay, so let's get into Megan is Missing. Megan is Missing starts off with these two teenage girls. One is 13, the other's 14. Now, the 14-year-old is Megan, and she has problems with her mom at home. She doesn't know anything about her father. She's been raped by her stepdad. She developed a drug problem, an alcohol problem, and she has a sex problem as well, as she regularly does blowjobs and does sexual things with the guys in her high school. Amy is the younger one. She's the 13-year-old, and she's much more innocent. She still plays with her stuffed animals, and she dresses more modestly. She's much closer. She has a much closer relationship with her parents. She doesn't seem to be as mentally troubled as Megan is. And the whole reason why they put out this film was to warn people about the dangers of talking to strangers online. But my perspective of it is, you can talk to strangers online. We all do all the time. I mean, if you comment on a celebrity's post even, technically you're talking to strangers online. Anytime you log onto TikTok or Instagram or Twitter, you're talking to strangers online. You just have to have a fucking brain and not, I don't know, give strangers your personal information or fucking meet up with them, shit like that. Anyway, the film is quite disturbing because the actresses at the time were 17 years old, and the director for this film mentioned that the parents had to be on set the whole time. And this just further fuels my belief that parents just don't care about their kids anymore, because, let me explain this to you. The girls who are 17 years old in real life, but playing 13 and 14-year-olds, there are several scenes where they're in their underwear. There's a scene where Megan is giving a guy a blowjob. There's drug use. There's alcohol use. There's one scene in particular where Megan is telling Amy about the first time that she gave a guy a blowjob. Now, here's what happened. Megan was away at summer camp at 10 years old, And one of the camp volunteers, who was 17 years old, pulled her into the cabin where they were alone, and he put her on her knees, and he put his dick in her mouth. And she described how she could feel his dick getting large and growing in her mouth, and how she couldn't breathe, so he instructed her to breathe in through her nose. And then she started blowing snot all over his cock because of how difficult it was for her to breathe. And then she mentioned how he also told her to not use her teeth when sucking, and it was very difficult because his cock was so big that it was extremely difficult. Like, there was no room for her teeth and his cock in her mouth. Here's the thing. She's 10 years old, and he is 17. I don't care about the fact that he's still legally an adult. That is a fucking pedophile, okay? He's going to be 18 in a year or less. Could be in 2 months for all we know. And he's over here fucking banging 10-year-olds? Are you fucking kidding me? And this is the thing. This movie, while they lie to you and tell you that it's based on true events, it's not. The script is completely fictional. They made it up in their head. So some motherfucker really thought of this storyline, and obviously they can't show it because it's child porn. So they basically describe it to us in such heavy detail that we're forced to imagine it, which is basically imaginary child porn. Like, how the fuck is this legal? Okay, so Megan starts talking to a new guy online named Josh, who is in college. Keep in mind, Megan is 14. She's not even in her mid-teens yet. She's 14 years old. Josh is an adult and is in college, and he's flirting with her. He's making comments on her body. And, Megan doesn't talk to her mom. She has a very bad relationship with her mom, so obviously her mom doesn't know. But here's the thing. We never see Josh's face. So basically, Megan FaceTimes him, but her face is visible, his face is not. And at one point, he even admits that his real name is not Josh. Basically, Josh stole the identity of some random college kid he found online who skateboards. But we don't actually know who the fuck Josh is. Anyway, Megan starts to grow feelings for him. Well, she doesn't really grow feelings for anyone because she's a hoe. And see, it's impossible to actually have feelings for someone when you're having so much sex with multiple different people. It's fucking impossible. But Megan starts to develop feelings for him, and they agree to meet up behind a diner. After that, Megan disappears. And the story breaks the news, and the headline is, like the title of the movie, Megan is missing. Some disturbing images of her get released on some sort of website that gets reported to the FBI because of how disturbing the images are. Basically, she's seen in her underwear, trapped in some sort of table with these metal pliers holding her mouth open and keeping her nose shut. It's very obvious she's being sexually tortured in some disturbing way. Amy and Megan are best friends, despite the fact that the two of them are polar opposites, and they talk not even every day, they talk every hour. And Amy starts to get concerned, and so she takes it upon herself to look for Megan. And then Amy gets kidnapped. So, throughout the premise of the movie, we really don't know what happened with Megan. We just see it from Amy's perspective, more or less. So Amy gets kidnapped, and she gets taken to, like, this dungeon-looking, really dark place. We have no idea where this place is, but you walk in, it's all dark. It's so dark you need a flashlight. And there's, like, these rotten wooden doors that lock. And there's these barrels. It's a really creepy... It reminds me a lot of the Saw movies, actually. But we have no idea where this is. This could be under a bridge. This could be underground somewhere. This could be in a forest. We genuinely have no idea what the fuck this is. Josh, and we're calling him Josh because we don't actually know what his name is. Josh locks Amy behind one of the wooden doors with no windows, basically holding her prisoner. He forces her to eat food out of a dog bowl without her hands, so she's basically sticking her face in the bowl like a doll. He then, at one point, he takes her out of the room and takes her virginity by raping her. And after what feels like days of torture, he eventually sets her free. Or at least he pretends to. He keeps asking her if she wants to see Megan, which she does. That's the whole reason how she got into this mess. And he says, you'll get to see Megan again, but in order to see her, you have to get in this barrel first. And he shows her this barrel. Now, this is probably one of the best jump scares I've seen in the movie. So, Amy goes to get in the barrel, only to find Megan's decaying corpse in the barrel. And, 1 second. Okay, I need to show y'all this. This is Megan's corpse. It actually looks kind of cool, if you ask me. But it was actually horrific to see, just seeing her eyes wide open and her mouth like that. So we don't actually know what the fuck happened to Megan because they don't show us. They just show us a story from Amy's perspective. But it is presumed from the evidence that we have that Megan was sexually and physically tortured. And then obviously she was killed and he stuffed her body inside the barrel. Anyway, the film ends with Josh forcing Amy into the barrel with Megan's decaying corpse and then burying Amy alive. So he basically makes a hole in the forest and he throws the barrel down there. Amy is inside with Megan's corpse and the barrel gets buried. And the film ends there, so it is presumed that, I guess Amy dies from being trapped underground with her best friend's corpse. It is definitely a horrific movie. Would I watch it again? No. The movie was very poorly done. It was very poorly edited. The quality was not that good. Maybe they did that because they thought that it would make the film scarier. But it was just... See, the movie doesn't get good until the final 22 minutes. The entire movie is just a bunch of teenage girls acting stupid and frolicking around, and then there's a good portion of these high school kids who are doing drugs and partying all the time, obviously. But the film is fucking boring. I almost shut it off because of how boring it was. It doesn't get entertaining until Amy gets kidnapped. And then they show us the final 22 moments, which are Amy's torture, her getting raped, and then finding Megan's corpse, stuff like that. And then additionally, I didn't think the film was very scary either. The final 22 minutes when we see Megan's corpse and we see Amy getting tortured and whatnot, sure, it's got a scary setting and all, but really the only scene, and I guess I'm just desensitized because I watch graphic shit all the time, but the only scene that I actually thought was somewhat scary was when they showed us Megan's corpse. And the reason why I say it's scary is because it's something that was unexpected. We haven't seen Megan for a large portion of the film, where we honestly didn't even cross my mind that she was dead. I figured that, she was probably still alive. Honestly, I assumed that Josh was probably trying to build up his own little personal harem of teenage girls that he was raping because that's what he was doing with Amy. He never killed her. He fed her and kept her alive so that he could rape her whenever he wanted to. So I assumed that he was doing the same shit with Megan. And there were other doors too, so I figured Megan was behind one of those doors. So I'm expecting that we're going to see Megan again. Then, boom, there she is in the barrel. I thought the barrel was fucking empty. Then, boom, there's her fucking corpse. And it wasn't like a normal dead body either. Her eyes are wide open, staring up at you, staring into your fucking soul. Her mouth is wide open. What would make a really good horror movie is if they took a replica of that exact corpse and they turned it into like a zombie or something that would chase you at night. Because that corpse is one of the scariest corpses I have seen in a long fucking time. But other than that, you know, the burying alive, the rape, the torture, it's nothing that I haven't seen before in a horror movie. It really just... See, here's the thing. If you watch an entire movie and it only gets good within the final 22 minutes, that's not a good fucking movie. The movie's fucking horrible. So, yeah, the last 22 minutes were excellent, but the rest of the movie was just absolute dog shit. It was just one giant heap of dog shit. And, see, that being said, the movie is still disturbing with the fact that the whole movie is basically based on pedophilia. What's more disturbing is the fact that the girls who are acting are actually teenagers themselves. Now, if I were the one directing the movie, this is how I would rewrite it. I would make sure the actresses are of age, so 18 or older, not 17 or younger. I would make sure the actresses are of age, and I would make it much more graphic, because a lot of it, including Amy's rape scene, is heavily censored, I guess because, you know, Amy's technically a minor. At the time, they couldn't, actually show her getting raped. But I felt like the movie, not just that part, but I felt like several parts of the movie were just way too censored for it to be considered a horror movie or even fully disturbing. This isn't even the most disturbing shit I've seen. No. So I would rewrite it to make the girls of legal age stop censoring shit, and I would actually make the movie extremely graphic, much more graphic, and I would actually show everything from the torture to the rape to everything in much more heavily graphic detail. That being said, the film did leave us with some unanswered questions. For example, did Amy really die? Because here's the thing. The movie is set up as if you, the audience, are looking at found footage. Now, Josh recorded himself torturing Amy on Amy's video camera, and then he threw her camera in the garbage, which was then found by the police. And so the footage that we're seeing is the same footage that the police are seeing. So, obviously, everything that happened from seeing Megan's corpse to Amy getting buried alive, this all happened after the police found the video camera. But then the film ends, so it's like, well, wait a minute. The police were in the middle of the investigation, so what happened? So the police are seeing the footage of Amy getting buried alive. Then what? Did they find her? Did Amy survive? Well, what happened? It just leaves a lot of unanswered questions. They are making a series, although not by the same director, but they are making a Megan is Missing series that I'm interested in seeing, and hopefully we'll get an answer to that. And I also like some more detail on what exactly happened with Megan, because we don't really know. And I guess that's part of the horror, is keeping a lot of mystery. But, what the fuck happened? And to be fair, this whole film is trying to illustrate the whole, don't talk to strangers online. Okay, Amy is fucking dumb as rocks. Megan and Amy are both dumb, but in their own respective ways. Megan is dumb because she's a slut and she will suck anything that resembles a dick. Amy is dumb because her parents keep her in a fucking bubble, and she clearly has some sort of autism, because what kind of 13-year-old plays with stuffed animals still and sleeps with teddy bears? To illustrate how fucking dumb Amy is, there's a scene where Josh is standing right behind her, and Amy is, so fucking dumb she doesn't even notice. But additionally, there's a scene where when Josh forces Amy to eat the dog food, at first she's very hesitant, and he threatens to basically take away her teddy bear, and he won't give her back her teddy bear unless she eats her food. So she eats her food so that she can get back a fucking teddy bear. Bro, Amy has the survival instincts of a fucking rock. It's unbelievable. So the whole moral, they want the moral of the story to be, don't talk to strangers online. I'd say the moral of the story is don't talk to strangers online. It's don't be fucking retarded. How about parents keep an eye on their fucking kids? How about parents teach their kids to have some fucking brain cells? How about parents teach their kids there's more to life than stuffed animals and sucking dicks? Really? I'll tell you a better film I saw. That film was Black Phone 2. Now, the first Black Phone 2, the first Black Phone was really fucking good. So if you haven't seen Black Phone is basically about a child abductor and child molester. This guy, basically, he takes children into his basement and he sexually tortures them and then he kills them. And then, what was his name? See, there's a thing with horror movies, is I can't remember anyone's, Finney, that was his name. So, in the first Black Phone movie, Finney is the main character. His sister, Gwen, has like this superpower that she's able to dream things that are actually happening. Basically, one of Finney's friends gets kidnapped by the Grabber, who is the serial killer in this movie, and his friend gets killed. Then Finney gets abducted, but there's a black phone in the basement where the ghosts of the Grabber's victims are able to talk to Finney, and they help Finney kill the Grabber by telling Finney exactly what to do. And also the police, because Finney doesn't know where he is, but the police find him because of his sister Gwen, who basically dreamt of everything, including the location of the house, the Grabber's house. The Black Phone 2, I originally wasn't certain about it, because it basically, what I heard online was that the Grabber had come back, but as a ghost, and that he was haunting people's dreams. And so I felt like they were they were basically being Freddy Krueger copycats. But once I actually saw the film, and I was so glad I did, it was actually so fucking good. So basically, what happens in the film is Gwen and Finney go away to some Christian camp up in the mountains because Gwen has a dream and something instinctively is just telling her to go there. So they decide to go there and weird things start happening and basically the Grabber is back but no one can see him because he's a ghost. The only person that can see him is Gwen when he dreams. So it's definitely similar to Freddy Krueger in a sense, but it's much more intense and much more graphic. It is actually amazing. Basically, in order to finally kill the Grabber, because he's trapped in like this ghost-like state where he's haunting this area, and the reason why he's haunting this area is because this is where his first victims were. These are where the first children were that he killed. And so they have to find the dead corpses of these children buried under the ice in order to finally get rid of the Grabber once and for all. And the movie ends with the ghosts and Gwen and Finney all torturing the Grabber. There's a scene where Finney grabs the Grabber by his head and fucking smashes his skull into the fucking ice. And you know that shit's got hurt. Have you ever been up in like the mountains where the ice is just rock hard solid? If you break that ice, it's fucking slicing your fucking skin. So imagine getting your fucking face pummeled into the fucking ice over and over and over again. That just gotta be worse than fucking concrete. There's a lot of lore too. So for example, one of the strong elements in the Black Phone storyline is that Finney and Gwen's mother killed herself, but it is revealed in the Black Phone 2 that she actually never killed herself, but the Grabber killed her, because Gwen's mother has the same power that Gwen has, where she's basically able to dream stuff that people like you and I cannot see. And because of this superpower, she was onto the Grabber and she was about to expose him. So because he didn't want to be exposed, the Grabber fucking hung her and set it up to look like a suicide so that he could get away with what he was doing. Now that's how you do horror. It's more graphic, it's more intense, more brutal fighting, more brutal killings. There's like an actual ghost. I would even argue that Black Phone 2 is better than the first Black Phone. Because the first Black Phone Well, see, the first Black Phone is more about a serial killer, but see, this is why I don't even consider Scream a horror movie. Because at the end of the day, Scream is just a guy in a mask. If you think about it, every Scream movie is basically a detective crime movie where you're trying to figure out who in the friend group is the serial killer. But what makes it a horror movie is just the fact that the killer is wearing some sort of Halloween mask. The Black Phone is actual horror. Because yes, there's a serial killer who is killed but then comes back as a fucking ghost and keeps killing. There's ghosts in the first one and the second one. There's hauntings. There's more gruesome kill scenes. What happened in Scream is just some guy in a mask. You kill him off and he doesn't come back. Every new movie, it's a completely different person wearing the same fucking costume. It's got to the point, I mean, Scream 7 was fucking horrible. You watch Megan is Missing. Megan is Missing, sure, it has disturbing elements, but it's not a fucking horror movie. It's just some pedophile rapist who kills his victims. There's nothing scary about that. It's not horror. Black Phone 2, now that's how you do fucking horror. Oh, what else did I watch? Yes. The Housemaid. This is another good movie that I saw with Sydney Sweeney. Now, I actually don't watch a lot of Sweeney's movies because a lot of it is very sex-based. I am watching Euphoria. Euphoria has been pretty good so far, but Euphoria is so much more than just, sex. Most of Sweeney's movies consist of romantic comedies that are really cheesy and just feature a bunch of useless sex scenes and just a meaningless storyline. But The Housemaid caught my attention because it's a thriller of some sort. So I decided to check it out, and I was honestly very impressed. So the story is about this girl who's played by Sweeney, whose name I can't fucking remember, but she basically was in jail for the past 10 years, and she just got out, and she needs to find a job. Otherwise, she goes back to jail. So she gets a job as a housekeeper, and everything seems normal at first, but it is quickly revealed that the wife, because there's a husband and a wife, and the wife, who is played by Amanda Seyfried, I think her name is, she's a fucking psychopath. She starts popping up all over the house like a fucking serial killer. Literally. I swear to God, this bitch can fucking teleport. And she has a daughter who's very disrespectful. And she's basically telling Sydney things that are not true. Like, for example, at one point in the movie, she tells Sydney to go pick up her daughter from ballet class. And when Sydney goes to pick up the daughter, she's told by one of the daughter's friend's mothers that the daughter's having a sleepover. And Sydney's confused because she's like, well, I was clearly told that I was supposed to pick her up. Well, this results in the wife getting upset and claiming that she never told Sydney to pick up her daughter, which he very clearly did. And then it's revealed that the wife suffers from psychosis, which is actually kind of scary because I actually knew a girl with psychosis for quite a while. But the wife is suffering from psychosis, and the husband is taking care of her, and the husband puts up with all her shit. And so the husband is kind of viewed as like this saint because his wife is absolutely crazy and horrific. Probably halfway through the movie, the husband starts to develop feelings for Sydney, and he takes her on to a concert where they get a hotel and they sleep together. And Sydney doesn't realize that the wife is tracking everything that they're doing through their phones. And so when they get back, the wife goes absolutely ballistic because the wife knows exactly what happened. The husband tells the wife she's crazy and kicks her out, and then builds a new life with Sydney, or Sydney's character. I'm calling her Sydney because I don't actually remember the housemaid's name. But it is then revealed that the husband is actually a sadistic monster. This man drugs Sydney and then locks her up in the attic Basically, what happened is Sydney dropped one of his china plates. This guy has a weird he has a weird obsession with china plates. So she accidentally drops and breaks one of the china plates, which results in him getting upset, and he drugs her, locks her in the attic, and he tells her, this is very valuable china. I can't find it anywhere else. And I think it broke into 21 pieces. And he slides one of the pieces under the door, and he tells Sydney that she is to carve 21 perfect lines into her stomach if she wants to be let out. And it is then revealed the wife's backstory. So the wife actually wasn't crazy. The wife worked at some law firm, met the husband, fell in love, they got married, and then it is revealed that the husband actually has a sadistic nature. There was something that she messed up, some minor mistake. I can't remember exactly what the mistake was. But he locked her in the attic, and he forced her to pull 100 strands of her hair out. And here's the thing, the only thing you get when you're staying in this attic is water. There's like 3 bottles of water, and there's no food. There's no way out because the window is sealed shut. The door is locked. There's no way out. So eventually, the wife pulls 100 strands of her hair and gives it to her husband, slides it under the door. The husband says, this isn't done right. Go ahead and do it again. Eventually, he lets her out. And I guess, she did go kind of crazy from being locked in an attic for who knows how long. Here's the thing. The husband put her daughter in a fucking bath. Mind you, her daughter was a fucking infant at the time. The husband puts the infant in a bath and lets the bath fill up so that when he finally lets his wife out, she goes straight to her daughter and she sees her daughter basically drowning. So she goes to pull her daughter out of the bath. Just then the police show up because the husband called the police. From the police's perspective, when they walk in, it looks like the wife is drowning her own daughter. So the wife is admitted into basically like a psychiatric hospital. She loses custody of her child, but the husband gets custody of the child even though that's not his actual kid. So that's the only way she's able to see her daughter is to stay married to this man and to live with this man and do whatever he says. So the reason why she hired Sydney, the housemaid, is because that was genuinely her only mistake, her only way out. She knew that Sydney was exactly her husband's type, and so basically what she needed to do was get her husband to switch targets so that she and her daughter could fucking escape. Then it is also revealed why Sydney spent the past 10 years in jail. Basically, when Sydney was just a schoolgirl, she walked into one of her classmates being raped by one of the schoolboys. So she took like this glass cylinder, hit him in the head with it, and without meaning to, killed him. Because her roommate wouldn't admit to being raped, therefore wouldn't admit to the self-defense, this Sydney's character, the housemaid, ends up spending the next 10 years in jail. So it was very interesting. There was a lot of lore. Anyway, the film ends with, so Sydney basically cuts 21 lines into her stomach. And when the husband lets her out of the attic, Sydney attacks him and traps him in the attic instead. And she is now playing his sadistic games. She tells him that if he wants to get out, he has to use a pair of pliers to take out one of his teeth, which he does almost immediately, but she doesn't let him out anyway. She then leaves him up there and basically goes downstairs to tend to her wounds and eat something and watch TV because she's been locked in the attic for who knows how long. Here's the thing, the wife comes back to rescue Sydney and sneaks into the house and opens the attic to rescue Sydney, unaware that it's actually her husband now trapped in the attic because Sydney got herself out of that situation. So now it becomes a whole thing where the husband has broken free and he's gone absolutely ballistic on the two girls. So the two girls basically have to team up. And it ends with Sydney throwing him down the stairs or over the stairs and fucking killing him. Sydney's able to get away, though. The wife is able to frame it so that when the police arrive, it looks like the husband just fell and killed himself when he fell. Sydney goes on to become a housemaid for someone else who shows her bruises on her wrists and advises her that her husband is kind of abusive. And Sydney's willing to take on the challenge and becomes the next housemaid. So it seems like Sydney has basically found her purpose, her calling, whatever you want to call it, where she's basically now rescuing women who are stuck in abusive relationships with a man. And that was the end of the film. That was honestly, that's probably one of the best films I've ever seen, especially with Sydney Sweeney. And see, this just goes to show you a lot of people hate Sweeney. Unfairly so, by mind you. Because Sweeney, she's just an actress. And they get her to play a lot of slutty girls because of her big tits and her overall attractive look. But if the housemaid can show us anything, it's that Sweeney definitely has a lot of potential as an actress. She just needs better roles. She needs a better casting manager, I guess. And more importantly, because see, when people think of Sydney Sweeney, they often think, oh yeah, dumb blonde with big tits, like Cassie in Euphoria. But upon seeing The Housemaid, it is so obvious that she is so much more than just a dumb blonde with big tits. It's actually a big misconception because Sweeney is actually naturally brunette. Anyway, that's the end of today's episode. Thanks for listening. This is the Adonis Podcast.